Hello dear students of plus 2 medical, non-medical, respected teachers. In this video, I am going to discuss a very important topic which is known as nuclear forces. What are nuclear forces? What are the characteristics of nuclear forces and what is the cause of nuclear forces? So first of all, definition of nuclear forces. So nuclear forces are the strongest forces of attraction which keeps the nucleons of the nucleus together in spite of strong electrostatic forces of repulsion between the nucleons, that is proton-proton repulsion. So such forces are known as nuclear forces. The strongest forces of attraction which keeps the nucleons bound inside the nucleus are called nuclear forces. Now, characteristics of nuclear forces. For that, if we plot a graph taking distance between two nucleons along x-axis and the corresponding force of attraction, that is nuclear force, along y-axis, we get the curve like this. And if we plot graph taking distance along x-axis and potential energy of the nucleons along y-axis, we get the curve like this, where potential energy is taken in MeV and distance is taken in Fermi. Now, from this graph, what we conclude, what we see, when nucleons are far away, that is more than distance of 10 Fermi, this nuclear force is negligible. And as nucleon approach each other, suppose there is one nucleon, to understand, at the origin, another nucleon is approaching this nucleon. So force of attraction increases and becomes maximum at certain distance. Then it starts, negative force of attraction starts decreasing and becomes zero at about 0.8 Fermi. And when distance between the nucleons becomes less than 0.8 Fermi, this nuclear force becomes repulsive in nature. And this repulsive nature explains the rigidity of the nucleus, rigidity of the matter, you can say. So, because beyond certain distance, forces become repulsive. Similarly, if we see the variation of potential energy in MeV with distance, when it is far away, more than 10 Fermi, potential energy is negligible. Then it starts increasing, negative potential energy starts increasing, and it becomes maximum at this point 0.8 Fermi. And this is minimum potential energy, you can say, because negative minimum potential energy, and nucleons, this is the more stable state, you can say, and correspond to this distance, when tension energy is, negative tension energy is minimum, force is zero, and when distance decreases from 0.8 Fermi, so this potential energy decreases from negative value to zero value, and then it also becomes positive. So this is the variation of nuclear force versus distance and potential energy versus distance. So from these graphs, so we conclude some characteristics of nuclear forces. Number one, nuclear forces are independent of charge. First characteristic, nuclear force doesn't depend upon charge. Means nuclear force between proton to proton, neutron proton or neutron neutron has same strength, so it is independent of charge. That is, force between neutron and proton is equal to force between proton and proton is equal to force between neutron and neutron. Second, nuclear forces are strongest forces in nature. Strongest forces in nature. Nuclear forces are 100 times stronger than electrostatic forces and 10 raised to 38 times stronger than gravitational forces. That's why nucleons are bound to the nucleus in spite of strong electrostatic forces between positively charged protons, because nuclear forces are much stronger than electrostatic forces. Then nuclear forces are short range forces. We have seen when distance is more than 10 Fermi, nuclear forces are negligible. They are short range forces. Fourth, so variation of force versus distance as shown figure from this graph. We include some points. Number one, force is negligible, as I told, when distance is more than 10 Fermi. It means this nuclear force doesn't obey inverse scale law, because when distance decreases, force increases, becomes minimum, negative, maximum. Force of attraction becomes maximum, but it doesn't obey inverse square law. From this curve we can see. Third, when R is less than 0.8 Fermi, it becomes repulsive. So at R is equal to 0.8 Fermi, force is neither repulsive nor attractive. Force is zero, nuclear force is zero. So it means nuclear forces are both attractive as well as repulsive. Then from this graph, potential energy is minimum at R is equal to 0.8 Fermi. So potential energy is least minimum, that is negative value, when nuclear force is 0 at 0.8 Fermi. So nuclear forces are attractive as well as repulsive in nature. So nuclear forces are saturated forces. Nuclear forces are saturated forces because each nucleon interacts with nearest neighbors only, not with all nuclei inside the nucleus. So it interacts with nearest neighbors. This means nuclear forces are saturated forces. That's why nuclear spherical symmetry is not possible. Spherical symmetry of nucleus is not possible. It is asymmetric. Then nuclear forces are spin dependent as well as depend upon angular momentum. And nuclear forces are non-central forces. So what are central forces? Those forces which act along the line joining the two bodies, two nucleons. But nuclear forces are non-central. They do not lie along the line joining the two nucleons. So these are the main characteristics of nuclear forces. So they are charge independent, they are strongest forces in nature, they are short range forces, they are attractive as well as repulsive, they are saturated forces, they are spin dependent, and they are non-central. These are the main characteristics of nuclear forces. Now, what is the cause of nuclear forces? From where these nuclear forces come? Even there is strong electrostatic force of repulsion between the protons. There are so many protons inside the nucleus. So why nucleons, protons as well as neutrons are bound inside the nucleus? This is according to Meson theory. Meson theory, nuclear forces arise due to continuous exchange of particles. According to Meson theory, nuclear forces arise due to continuous exchange of particles between nucleons called mesons, which are also called pions, pi neutral, pi positive, pi negative. These are three types pions. How? No, force between proton and neutron. That is proton and neutron, because there exists force between proton and neutron, neutron and neutron, and proton and proton, which have same strength. How? Force between proton and neutron. Force between proton and neutron is due to exchange of charge pions, pi positive and pi negative. For example, proton, when pi negative is absorbed, so it gives neutron, neutral. When neutron absorbs pi positive, it gives proton. Similarly, when neutron changes to proton and emits pi negative, proton changes to neutron and emits pi positive. It means there is always exchange of pions, pi mesons, positive pi meson and negative pi meson between, either they absorb or they emit pi meson. Now, force between proton and neutron is due to the exchange of neutral pion, pi naught. So P gives new proton in new state and with exchange emission of pi neutral. Similarly, or pi P proton absorbs pi neutral and comes to a new state P dash. Similarly, N goes to N dash plus pi naught, or N plus pi naught gives N dash. It means there is exchange of neutral pion between proton or neutron, which gives proton, neutron force, equal force. So, exchange of pions, pi mesons is the major cause of nuclear forces, which keeps the nucleons together. Exchange of pions. To understand it, this Meson theory, suppose two football players are playing in the ground. No, sometimes ball goes to one player, sometimes ball goes to other player. So they remain together. Both the players remain together till football is there. If somebody takes the football and run out of the ground, then there is no, both the players will get separated. So just like football keeps them together, so pi meson keeps nucleons together. As you can take an example of a piece of bone and two dogs. So piece of bone will keep the two dogs together. Just like pions keeps the nucleons together. This is all about nuclear forces, nature of nuclear forces and their cause. So I think you have understand. So if you understand, watch my video again, subscribe my channel, share my channel, and good luck, be happy, all the best, take care.